Following hot on the heels of the seemingly endless Brexit squabbling comes another British project lathered in controversy. It's a new super-fast railway called High Speed 2, which is being built right up the heart of Britain with the promise of economic growth, low-carbon travel, more capacity, and some of the fastest trains on Earth. But building it is far from easy. The project has gone several times over budget, faced delays, and staunch opposition. So, why is there so much opposition towards this project? And will we see it get complete in the years ahead? Let's find out. Hello and welcome to our channel Building the Future. In today's video, we are going to give you exclusive details about a $100 billion worth of railway project in Britain, which is dividing the nation. So, make sure to watch the video till the end to find out more, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing videos. The name High Speed 2 feels like it has already been around forever, but actually construction has only just begun. The high-speed rail service will initially link London and Birmingham, before separating and continuing north to Manchester and Leeds. The first phase is due to be completed between 2028 and 2030, while the northern sections are scheduled to open between 2035 and 2040. So we're going to be talking about High Speed 2 for some time to come. This is a truly monumental project that has already seen its estimated cost balloon to stratospheric levels, and one that has courted significant controversy up and down the country. In comparison with some other countries around the world, Britain is far behind in terms of high-speed rail travel. The most famous, of course, is the Japanese Shinkansen trains, now capable of traveling at speeds of up 360 km/h. In Europe, France, Italy, Spain, and Germany all use a high-speed network that has been in place for some time. In Britain, high-speed rail travel has had a difficult journey. Traditionally one of the leaders in terms of rail innovation, the country has slipped noticeably down the pecking order over the last 50 years. During the 1970s, the advanced passenger train was trailed in the UK, capable of speeds of up to 249 km/h. However, it ran into financial problems that were compounded by the negative media coverage focusing on the train's design faults, and it was finally scrapped in 1987. Instead, the UK built and extended motorways around the country. In 1960, the total length of motorways in Britain was 95 miles. As of 2019, that figure had reached 2,320 miles. The average vehicle flow across the two periods also increased by nearly 9 times, and the UK became much more of a car nation, and sadly rail services began falling behind. Now, if you were already wondering about High Speed 1, then here we are. The first high-speed line in the UK opened fully in 2007 and runs for 108 kilometers between London and the Channel Tunnel, which, in case you missed it, is a rail tunnel that passes below the English Channel, connecting the UK with France. At a cost of £5.8 billion, it certainly didn't come cheap, but pales in comparison to the astronomical figures of High Speed 2. This was an important line because it finally put the British section on a par with their Gallic cousins. Before this, trains had traveled from Paris to the Channel Tunnel at speeds of up to 300 km/h, but coming out of the tunnel in the UK, trains could only travel at a maximum speed of 160 km/h. For a nation who invented rail travel, this must have been particularly galling. Then, it was only 2 years after the full opening of High Speed 1 that murmurs of another, longer high-speed rail line began to emerge. Initially, the proposal came from the Labour Party, then in power, but was supported by the Conservative/Liberal Democrat coalition, which came to power in 2010. The initial Y-shaped design hasn't changed much, but the design has undergone slight alterations to mitigate the ecological impact. The government hopes that High Speed 2 will increase capacity on British railways, weaning the country from air and road to rail. It is hoped that by adding high-speed connections between the major cities, it would free up space on other lines, which could then operate slower local routes and freight services. Then there was the argument that we seem to be forever dancing around in the UK, the north/south divide. London is not only the largest city in the UK by far, but has also attracted significantly more investment than anywhere else. Everything from average income, life expectancy, house prices, and unemployment has traditionally been skewed along this divide. On the other hand, those in the North have felt left behind for decades now, and it's difficult to argue with that sentiment. A new high-speed rail line connecting the North and South was seen as the start of a leveling up process within the country, to borrow a phrase for Prime Minister Boris Johnson, which hopefully would see rising investment away from the bright lights of London. In 2010, the estimated cost for the entire project was between £30 and 9 pence and £36 billion, but things were still a long way from getting started. Between 2010 and 2019, the UK went through a truly tumultuous period. The referendum on leaving the European Union spilled over into bickering, protests, and at times open contempt. It was not a particularly pleasant time for the country, and one in which the debate over High Speed 2 also exploded. The opposition to High Speed 2 has been fierce, with much of it centering around the environmental impact the line will have. The Woodland Trust, the UK's largest woodland conservation group, has stated that 108 ancient woodlands will be affected by the railways, with a whole catalogue of rare animals set to lose their habitat. Others argue it's simply a waste of money and that the UK doesn't need a high-speed rail network. With the NHS often struggling badly for funding, it's not hard to find other causes that could benefit from the money. So, it's a project that has divided many in politics also, although the three largest political parties, the Conservatives, Labour and the Liberal Democrats, now support it. The Green Party, Brexit Party and the UK Independence Party oppose the project, but hold so little power in Parliament they haven't managed to provide much political opposition. Then there is the awkward question: CO2 emissions. You would think that by installing high-speed railways we would be reducing our CO2 emissions, but it's not quite as straightforward as that. A government white paper published in 2007 stated that trains that travel at a speed of 350 kilometers per hour use 90% more energy than trains that travel at 200 kilometers per hour. This would also result in carbon emissions for a London to Edinburgh journey of approximately 14 kilograms per passenger for high-speed rail compared to 7 kilograms per passenger for conventional rail. In comparison, air travel emits 26 kilograms per passenger for the same journey. So it's certainly better than an aircraft, but perhaps not quite as green as you would imagine. However, the paper also added that a switch to carbon-free or carbon-neutral energy production would make a huge difference. In 2010, the government said the project would be roughly carbon-neutral, which is about as non-committal as you can possibly get. Adding to this, a statement by High Speed 2 has said that the construction of Phase 1 will lead to roughly 5.8 to 6.2 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions, but after which it will be carbon neutral, and by 2030, emissions are estimated to be 8 grams for high-speed rail, 22 grams for conventional intercity rail, 67 grams for private car transport, and 170 grams for domestic aviation per passenger. So all of this opposition built up steadily over the years, so much so that the government ordered a full review of the project in 2019. At the time, preparation work for Phase 1 had already begun and continued through the inquiry. Though the review was completed by the end of 2019, the findings were delayed because of the general election in December. In February 2020, the Oakervie Review was finally published, concluding that High Speed 2 should go ahead with certain alterations, much of it relating to the spiraling costs. Now, after all the waiting, scrutinizing, and protesting, it seems that High Speed 2 is finally going ahead. That's not to say that the debate over it has calmed. Far from it, in fact, but the government appears increasingly committed to the project, and as work begins, it's difficult to see a last-minute change of mind. This will be one of the largest, most significant infrastructure projects the UK has seen in living memory, considering the nation will need to contend with the fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic, a brand new recession, and the messy divorce from Europe. It certainly hasn't come at the best time. But then again, is there ever a right time for something like this? We hope you enjoyed this video. We will be back soon with more amazing content, so stay tuned. And don't forget to like our video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our latest updates. You can always change your mind later. Thanks for watching.